The senior developer of Highguard is saying that we are not serious enough to enjoy Highguard. Apparently, gamers just can't understand the depths of the greatness of this game. And we're going to hear what he has to say about it in this video. First off, we're going to start with Grums, who says, senior Highguard designer says, you aren't serious enough to enjoy Highguard. Quote, the game was too sweaty for casual players. And that's why so many bounced off it on launch day. Talk about maximum cope. Like, you don't think that there's enough sweaty gamers out there to pick up deep games? You had nearly 100,000 people concurrently playing your game. And now, just about a month later, you're down to just barely triple digits. We're talking like just over like 200 people concurrently playing a free to play game. Not looking great for the future of Wildlight Entertainment, the developer behind Highguard. And this is the story on Reddit, PC Master Race. Highguard Dev says the shooter leaned too far into the competitive scene, and that turned a lot of players off, apparently. This is from IGN. People just kind of turned it off because they didn't have the team. Somehow, I feel like I'm married to this game because I am the one at fault. That's weird. I didn't know that I was the problem here, but apparently I am. Highguard, the free-to-play PvP raid shooter announced at the Game Awards last year and released only for most of its developers to be laid off just weeks after launch, may have failed because it leaned too far into the competitive scene. That's according to former Wildlight developer and level designer Alex Granner, who told Quad Damage Podcast that the developers don't strive to create something that doesn't work out throughout development. Wildlight really leaned into the competitive side of it, and that was always one of my biggest fears as a player. Oh, I bet. I already fast forwarded this to the part where it has him talking. This is the developer here, the Alex Granner. This is him on the left. Let's hear what he has to say from his own words here. It's a couple minutes.
From your perspective, not the gamers, not the corporate executives or anything like that, what do you feel led to the game's failure? And was there anything that you kind of learned from the experience?
Yeah, I think there was a lot to learn from Highguard's development. And I can only mainly speak to my side of it, as a level designer. But when I joined, it was they were trying to figure out this new ambitious game, and like this team always is pushing the boundaries. So you don't strive to.
What does that mean? This game was always pushing the boundaries. What boundaries? What did this game do any different than anything else that came before it? What boundaries was it pushing? Like, legitimate question.
Create something that doesn't work out, but it happens, unfortunately. And throughout the development, we just really leaned into the competitive scene of it. And that was always one of my biggest fears as a player. Like, we'd play test frequently, and as the mode constantly evolved, it changed a lot, even in the year and a half I was at Wildlight. And some of that studio, some of those people had been there for almost 4 years. So I can imagine.
Some of them were there for almost 4 years. Think about how much time and money went into the development of this game. With the expectation from Tencent in developing it and hiding behind the scenes, just pumping money into Wildlight, pretending to not be a part of it, thinking that there was going to be some cash windfall at the end because live service game just equals money at the end of the day. That's what they were thinking going into it. And the hundreds of millions of dollars potentially sunk into this game to get nothing out of it.
And all the different changes and pivots that this team went through, but it was all to chase this final vision that we hope players enjoy. I think Highguard's one issue, or biggest issue, what it came down to was just it leaned too far into the competitive scene, and that was always my biggest fear. When we decided to go full in on 3v3,
never once did I hear anyone give a complaint that it leans too hard into being the competitive scene. Never once. That's not even something that ever came up in the conversation. What came up was it's not fun. It's too wide open. The world is too empty. The grinding it is boring. It's annoying. Please add more players to the world. Nothing about, oh, it's too competitive and it's not something that I can focus on because I need something that's less competitive. That wasn't even that's not even an argument that came up.
3v3 duos is always the sweatiest version of anything, like battle royales, objective modes, wingman.
Your maps were too big, bro. Did no one tell you this?
Name it. It requires such high intensity of communication with your team and team plays that it doesn't leave much room for casualness. And I think that was the biggest thing that turned a lot of players off to Highguard. Is just
so his argument. Maybe I'm boiling it down too much, but it is so good that you just can't comprehend the greatness of Highguard, and that's why it failed, because it's too good. And you're not gamer enough to get it, guys. That's what the problem was. And this is actually worse than I thought it was gonna be.
Your first few games, especially when a game like Highguard has this really big spotlight on it, whether for negative or positive reasons.
Dude, the spotlight was for very positive reasons. It got highlighted as the grand finale of the Game Awards. What do you mean for negative or positive reasons? Everyone was talking about your game. This was the craze in the game industry when it got announced. Now you could argue, oh, there were some people that were questioning it and stuff. You got nearly 100,000 people to concurrently play it when it first launched, blowing away any kind of expectations right at the start. And then you proceeded to lose 99.9% of that audience in the following month. And now you're blaming the gamers because they aren't competitive enough for your game? Bro, learn some introspection. Maybe it's not everyone else that's the problem here.
You need to hook people game one. And battle royales, Apex had this big success because battle royales were kind of an up and coming mode. It was really easy to understand as a whole after you played one game. And it's really easy to explain to your friend. It's like, hey, just be the last squad surviving.
It's really easy to explain to your friend, I don't know, like a fun game to play. Hey, you do this in it and it's really fun. Okay, cool. Let's play it. Highguard, what are you doing it? I don't know. You get a pickaxe and you start grinding away, and then maybe eventually you run into someone in battle to pick up the key in the middle, and then you go back to, holy shit, bro, who thought this came up?
That's it. Whereas Highguard has all these different rules and stages, like, oh, you want to loot. Now we got to chase this objective. Oh, we have to plant this objective. Oh, it's overtime. It has all these rules, which I think works at a really high level. But when players...
But everyone's just too dumb to understand it because it's too high of a level for it. This guy, if he fails as a game developer, he has a chance to be a stand-up comedian.
First coming in, it's a lot to grasp and a lot to digest. And on top of all that, because it was 3v3, it's just like that kind of game just requires high skilled movement and shooting, which is already a pretty high entry as well. So if you just have a few bad games, your teammates aren't sticking together, you're just going to get rolled, and it's very hard to 1v2 in our game too, because of the pay and all the designs behind it.
So what you're saying is the entire development of the game was broken from the start, and you guys knew that, but because you thought that for whatever reason you thought it was just going to work, and it didn't work, so now it's the gamer's fault. Like, I'm having such a hard time comprehending what his mindset is here. He's trying so hard to off-put the blame of the failure on you that he's coming across as a complete moron.
Trying to be a team-based shooter. So I think that was the biggest thing. People just kind of churned off of it because they didn't have...
Here's how he should have answered that question, by the way. We bit off more than we can chew. We did not listen to any of the feedback from the people that may have had concerns. We created an echo chamber of yes men surrounding us and yes women in our studio, where everyone just positive reinforcement of everything we kept doing. Our biggest mistake was not reaching out to the other side, the actual gamers, the people with wallets, and finding out if this is something that worked with them. In fact, all we did was listen to the positive, and anytime there was someone that said anything negative, we just labeled them as a hater and blocked them.
Team, it wasn't sticky enough. But But at a high level, if you're playing with teams, with teammates, obviously with comms, preferably, that knew the mode, how to play, decent players, and you're playing an equally skilled team, and you had these awesome back and forth and strategies emerged, like the game really shined. Unfortunately, because of that high entry level.
So what he's saying is you need a perfect environment. You need entire teams of everyone that is not just knowing how the game works, but is very good, like top of the level, perfect gamer with it. And everyone, if you are competent with everything you have to do along every stage of it, then and only then is the game playable. That's a problem. Like, I think of a game like Rocket League. You can just pick up and play Rocket League. You could suck at it, but you can still have fun with Rocket League even if you suck at it. You can drive the car around. You can fuck with the game because you can at least hit the ball away from people even if you're really bad. Like, you can try. This is a completely different world.
A lot of people never got to that, unfortunately.
Yeah. Do you think they pulled the plug too early?
But the game's still live as of recording.
I mean, me personally, I would have loved to stay with this team as long as possible, see if we can turn it around. But if anything, I would have loved a longer runway, and ideally get to game 2 with this team. We learned a lot from Highguard and its release.
It sounds like you haven't learned anything because you're blaming everyone else. What have you learned?
Development, and I would have loved to see how this team comes together and be like, okay, this was a great learning experience. Let's stay together. Let's apply all these learnings and make game 2, whatever that.
Let's stay together. Let's keep making games, guys.
That would be because that team is like extremely talented, and it would have been awesome to continue to work with them as we learned together and what we learned.
Yeah.
I think what it comes down to is the premise of the game just wasn't fun at the end of the day. And they're having a hard time swallowing that. I really think it's that basic. Max says, developer cope as usual. Competitive play is another way that players get invested in online games. This is usually seen in many titles like Fortnite, Call of Duty, CSGO, League of Legends, etc. If the game isn't fun to play casually, no one is going to invest in it competitively. Polish tomorrow. Leaned too far up its ass. Fixed. This is quote tweeting Pirate Nation. An ex-Highguard dev says the game may have failed because it, quote, leaned too far into the competitive scene with a screenshot of concurrent player count of 151 players. Dash Attack. Secure boot requirements that I believe are still in place killed the game on PC. Highguard was not ready to launch, did not deserve the praise or the spotlight it got from the Dorito Pope. It lost its investors and is hanging on for dear life. I really would love to see the console numbers because at this point, the damage might be beyond correcting. Kernel level anti-cheat implemented in playing Highguard. And there's a lot of people that have major issues with kernel level stuff, which, by the way, there's a kernel level anti-cheat for Marathon as well, and that's facing backlash as well. This is an Insider Gaming post talking about it as well. I'm not going to go through this whole thing because it's similar to everything else we were just talking about. But I do want to end the topic on this. Earlier, before I started recording this, it was at 347 players. It is 10:24 p.m. Pacific time right now. It is under 250 concurrent players on a Monday night on a free-to-play game. This game is dead. Pull the plug. It's over, guys. I don't know what to tell you, but at what point are you going to realize that you are throwing good money at bad right now? There is no fixing this. It's over. I'm sorry. You need to fire everyone and shut your studio down. There's no recovering from this. This was earlier today. I said Highguard currently has 265 players in game on Steam. Pull the plug. It's over. They aren't getting to their season content, their monthly deployments, the DLC drops, the microtransaction. It's over. It's done. At this point, I would make the argument, call me crazy for saying this, that it's almost like stealing money from people if you are disingenuously putting your game up there and having items for sale in it, knowing full well you're going to pull the plug from it in a couple days and not give the money back to people. Like, you are legit just stealing from people right now. Pull the plug. It's done. Highguard lasted more than a month, which you could argue is longer than some people gave it credit for, but it failed. It's done. And Wildlight Studios, as a company, is also done. There is no recovering from this. Just like what happened with Firewalk and Concord. It's done. Sorry. Fries in the bag. Next. Like that. Welcome to the world of live service. Don't make a live service game. Your problems will be resolved quicker than you could imagine if you actually just make games that people want to play and buy, instead of making games that are you'll own nothing to be happy, constantly paying money every month, constantly needing to keep up with the Joneses on everything. You can work with that. There are Fortnites out there. The Apex Legends, I mean, they do exist. They're out there. But for every one of those that's successful, how many tens of, well, at this point, hundreds of games come and go and lose millions upon millions, tens of millions, sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars along the way? And ask yourself, is it worth it? And I think we all know what the answer is to that. But I'll leave that there. Nerdy Mechanic did better than Concord. Barely. I mean, as of recording this right now, it is live. Still. At this point, too, fire all your devs, shut the game down, and give me $50,000 as a check for the guy that saved you another $1 million. I'll take that. I will be your George Clooney up in the air. I will fire them all. Bring me in. Let's do this.